Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Lagore, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. Let me get my face out of the way up in the corner here. There we go. If you've never joined us before, the What's Up Webcast takes place every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything there is about astronomy, to what's up into the nighttime sky, to helpful tips and tricks for your observing and imaging outings. And then, of course, at the end of each month, we have a special guest on to talk about whatever. So if you've joined us before, happy Friday. Thanks for joining us again. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. Keep you up to date with any future events and content that we have coming out. So this week, of course, it's May. I'm not sure where things have gone, but it's already May. So, and it is the 1st of May. So, with that being said, we're going to be talking about what's up in the nighttime sky for the month of May. And there's a bunch of cool things up. I'm sure if you've been observing lately or imaging, you kind of know what's up. But we're going to take a look at what we can see for the month of May. Now, real quick, just to jump in, if you want some cool swag to match your Skywatcher gear, we do have the skywatcher.threadless.com website. You can get shirts and hoodies and all kinds of fun stuff in there. I know we are working on some new artwork, but you can get all kinds of fun stuff there at the skywatcher.threadless.com website there. So just some cool swag to go with your Skywatcher gear. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Let me get myself fixed up here. Perfect. So, it's May. And as we do with every webcast for What's Up in the Nighttime Sky, we're going to be talking about the brightest thing in the nighttime sky to start with. And of course, that's the moon. And this month, new moon is May 11th. So, middle of next week. But that kind of works out if you're trying to get out and do some dark sky viewing. It kind of gives you two different weekends to choose from because this weekend is technically the darkest weekend of the month, the 8th and the 9th. So if you're going out this weekend, I'm sure you already have your outing figured out if you're already going out. But you can also get out next weekend on the 15th and 16th. There's going to be a small crescent moon. I'm going to bring up Stellarium here. Stellarium is a free program you can download online if you're looking for something to kind of figure out how the sky's looking. So this is about, there we go, 8 o'clock next weekend on the 16th. There is a thin crescent moon. It's going to be hanging up in Gemini. But that's going to be out of the sky by, 10 o'clock. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, right about 10, 11 o'clock it should be setting. So if you're planning an outing, and particularly if you're planning an outing to catch the Milky Way to do some nightscape work, this weekend or next weekend would work because next weekend the moon will be out of the sky by the time the Milky Way is becoming high enough in the evening sky, rising in the east. So you have two dark weekends that you can actually get out and do some nice viewing this month. So kind of we lucked out on that. So now the full moon, of course, is at the end of the month. We have the full moon on May 26th. Yes, May 26th. I'm sorry. But that's when we can expect to have our evening skies lit up with that big bright moon. Now, speaking of the full moon, like I said, this month is on May 26th. It is known as the flower moon. That is the name of the moon for the month. It gets its name from all the wildflowers that are really abundant this time of year. It's spring. I'm sure you're well aware of why there's flowers everywhere. It's just that time of year, particularly up here in the northern hemisphere. And it also is a supermoon. So it last month in April we had the first supermoon, and May we have the last supermoon. Now, there's a lot of people that make a big deal on social media and stuff like that. A lot of news outlets like to make a big deal about the supermoon. It's roughly 7% bigger and about 15% brighter. And it's the last supermoon of 2021. Now, for the majority of us, it's not that exciting, but hey, it gets astronomy out into the public eye and encourages people to go out and do some viewing. So, what the heck? So, let them have their fun with it. But speaking of the moon, this full moon for the month of May is actually a little bit more exciting because we actually have a lunar eclipse. I'm sure some of you are familiar with what this is. It's when the moon goes into the shadow of the Earth, and we get to see a cool, red, rusty moon. So we have our first lunar eclipse visible quite some time, actually. I forgot when the last one was, but it's been a little bit. First total lunar eclipse of 2021. I'd have to check if there's actually even another one that's going to be this year or not. We can check here in a minute. But of course, this, like I said, this takes place on May 26th during the full moon. We're going to do a whole episode later this month, the third Friday of this month. We're going to be talking about how to get ready to image the lunar eclipse. So if you're looking for that, been out for that episode. In East Asia, you're going to be able to see the moon lunar eclipse during moonrise. In Australia, if you're on the west side of Australia, you'll get it during full moon or moonrise. But as you move east, so most of Australia would be able to see the full eclipse. If you're in the Pacific, like Hawaii, which sounds awesome right now, you'll be able to see the entire lunar eclipse. And then, of course, in the Americas, we're going to catch it where we're at moon set. So, and then depending where you are is going to depend on how much you're going to get to see. Of course, it's a lunar eclipse. It's a full moon. You're going to see this naked eye or with a telescope. If you want to photograph it, obviously, you're going to want to use like a telephoto lens, probably something around 400 millimeters or longer to give you the image scale. Of course, you want a tracker, especially when we get to totality, but I don't want to go into too much detail about that because we're going to do an entire episode in a couple weeks about how to photograph and get ready for the lunar eclipse on May 26th. If you want to know more, though, about that particular eclipse, you can go to NASA's got a good site. I'll just bring it up right here. Eclipse.gsfc.nasa.gov. Just Google NASA eclipse and it'll take you to the eclipse pages, and it'll give you a big list of all the eclipses that are up and coming, including lunar and solar. But they give you this really nice layout of how this is going to look. So you have P1, U1, all the, U2, U3, U4, and P4. Those are all the different points at which the eclipse takes place. So you have the penumbra, umbra, then you have the deep umbra, and then moving into the penumbra again. So that's going to be important because as you move down, you can actually see where the eclipse is going to be visible and how it's going to be visible and at what stage it will be visible in your area. So if you're on the East Coast, you're probably not going to get a whole heck of a lot for the eclipse there. It's going to be in the penumbra, maybe the umbra stage, so just entering the shadow there. If you're up in Maine and New York and some of those regions, you're not going to really see much of a change to the moon there. As you move more inward, you'll probably start to catch some of it when it's entering the umbra stage, so you'll get the darkening as the moon sets. It's not actually until you get to about Texas and the east portion, or the western portion of Canada, that you're going to be able to see when it's in the deep umbra stage, where it's nice and red and has that dark tone to it. And unless you're in California and a little bit of the other portions of the West Coast, you're not going to get. You'll still get some of that red tone. I'm going to try doing for my Focus Astronomy, which is my outreach program. We're going to try and do a live stream of it through the telescope. I need to kind of plan that out, but as we get closer, I can give you guys details on that if you can't see it. I know a friend of ours who has an observatory out in California, I believe, is planning on doing a stream too. He's going to have a little bit more room because he's more in the band right here, where he'll actually be able to get pretty much all of totality, and it will set when it's coming into the P4 stage or the penumbra stage. So he'll get the whole totality range. And here in Arizona, where I'm at, we'll be able to get to U4 or the umbra stage there as it's getting out to the outer shadow. So if you're in the western half of the U.S. and pretty much all of Mexico, you're good to go here in North America. And then, of course, if you're in California and on the western coast of California and out into Hawaii, you get a bunch of stuff. But here is the map. If you need to review that, just go to eclipse.gsfc.nasa.gov or just Google Eclipse NASA, and it'll bring you to the NASA page, and it'll have all the dates of this eclipse and the coming eclipses for many years in advance. And then it's also going to give you the eclipse times, so you can kind of match that up with your particular location using the universal time, so adjust accordingly. But yep, so this is the place I go to check out all the eclipse information, so hopefully that works out for you, and best of luck observing that. And again, we're going to have a whole episode later this month about observing lunar eclipses and how to photograph and watch them. So keep an eye out for that. So that is May 26th, of course, during the full moon. Now, moving on, planets. Now, last month we really didn't have much, and we still don't have a whole heck of a lot visible, but we have gained 2 planets in the evening sky, and they're becoming more visible as the month goes on. Now, the first one, of course, is Mercury, and I don't have a great picture of Mercury in the evening sky, so I used my Mercury transit picture from 2019 because that's the best shot of Mercury I've got. So Mercury is visible in the western sky right now. It's very low. It's very small. It's not far from the sun. It never is. But you can actually catch it. And its greatest elongation is going to be May 17th. That's where it's at its highest position, and probably the best time to actually view it in the evening, because Mercury doesn't sit above the horizon very long, only for a few weeks. So if you want to catch Mercury, if you've never observed Mercury before and you're just looking to complete like your planet count, or you just want to see Mercury because it's neat, try to observe it somewhere around May 17th. That's going to be your best bet because that'll be when it's at its highest point in the west. It can be small to see. You generally want to wait till the sun is down. You can see it naked eye. It looks like a tiny star, but it's fairly low, generally on the horizon. You can catch it during the day. If you have a mount that's accurately aligned and good to go, you can actually observe Mercury high in the sky during the day. It is a little bit of a challenge, but if your mount is well aligned, like maybe you were out last night imaging, or you've got an observatory set up or something that's been set up for a while and you know it's aligned, try observing Mercury during the day. It's doable. Even like a 4-inch refractor can do it. It doesn't take a lot of aperture to capture and see a view of Mercury, but that's the best time to do it. Normally is when it's nice and high in the sky, but it usually is not far from the sun. So, just be aware of that. It's far enough this month to where it's not scary to observe, but just be careful because you are in the vicinity of the sun. So always be careful with that. And just to show real quick, we'll just go back to this evening, 7, and bring it back into sunset. And you can see right there's Mercury on Stellarium. So around, what is this, about 7:15 this evening, you should be able to go outside, and it's currently going to be at an altitude of 17 degrees, so it's going to be pretty low. But over the next couple days, it's actually going to get up into the sky. You will have a cool, it's not a close conjunction, but you'll have the really thin crescent moon and Mercury not too far from each other on May 13th. So that would be kind of a cool thing to catch photographically. If you have a wide enough field of view, you could probably catch the two together. I don't know what their distance is. I guess I have a phone here. We could actually look that up and see if we can get an actual measurement. But May 13th is going to be kind of a cool time to catch those. Let me pop this up real quick. May 13th, and we're going to do the evening. There might be a way to do this in Stellarium, but I don't know how to do it. But I do know how to do it on Sky Safari. So got the moon there. Bear with me real quick. About 3 degrees. So even a short refractor, like an 80 millimeter with a big chip on the back of it, you could get those too. So this would be kind of a cool photo op for anybody who's looking to catch Mercury. The 13th would be a nice time because you can use the moon as reference, and it's going to be pretty close to it. Mercury right now, if you're not aware, Mercury does have phases like the moon, any planet within the orbit of Earth. So that would just leave the Venus and Mercury. But Mercury is going to be at like a first quarter phase. So it will have a little bit of a phase to it. So it'll be kind of cool to see that there. Look like a half moon right now. But yeah, the 13th would be the best time if you're looking for an easy reference, or try observing during the day with a well-aligned telescope. So that is Mercury visible right now in the eastern sky. It's not going to last long. Let me actually bring this up real quick. It's going to come up, and then it's going to head back down. As we move into June, it's going to head back down and out of the sky. So we're only talking about a month. We're going to have a real close hit. Not even a hit. On May 28th, it's going to be low, but there's going to be a conjunction between Mercury and Venus. Very, very close. I don't even know how close that's going to be. That's really close. Probably within a degree, it looks like. So this is on the 28th. There we go. It's going to be low. Let's do the measurements here real quick. Yeah, it's within a degree of each other easily. 24 arc minutes. So less than half a degree of each other on the 28th of May is another conjunction between Mercury and Venus. So that would be a cool one to catch too. They are going to be very low on the horizon. We're only talking about 16 degrees altitude at that point. You could catch this during the day though. If you know what you're doing, you could get a really nice shot of this when they're nice and high earlier in the day. Let me back this up real quick. See how far they are from the sun. If you had a well-aligned mount and you wanted to capture these two, you'd have a real nice photo op of these two in middle of the day, as long as you know where to catch them. But a planetary camera, maybe an infrared pass filter to block the blue sky. You've got a real good shot there on May 28th during the day when they're nice and high. So just a heads up. Now, speaking of its neighbor, Venus is going to be visible in the west. It's at a gibbous phase right now, so it's pretty much almost fully lit at this point. But Venus is going to be a cool one to see too. It kind of hovers around where Mercury is, but Venus is going to be visible in the sky for the next few months, actually, because that's just how Venus rolls. Let me get back to uh, this evening. There we go. Um, get rid of this. Now, it's got Mercury is pretty. Venus is still pretty low. Venus is actually lower than Mercury is right now. So it's going to take a couple days for it to rise high enough in the sky to where it's going to be interesting to see and it's out of the muck of the atmosphere. But it is going to be rising. It's becoming the evening star. So just heads up, you're going to get, if you've got friends and family who want to know what that bright thing is in the sky, just a heads up that that time is coming in the evening. So it's going to remain low for a while, but it should start getting higher and higher over the next few months or the weeks. But it is going to be hanging down there. Pop this up here. It's going to be hanging down there for a while. We do have a conjunction between a razor thin crescent moon. This is on the 12th, so there's a conjunction, very close conjunction, probably within 2 degrees of each other, maybe less, of a crazy, crazy thin moon and Venus on the 12th. So if you're looking for a really unique photo op in a high place, if you're on a mountain or something to catch this, very cool conjunction between those two. There'll probably be many more conjunctions moving forward, especially as Venus gets higher and brighter. It's going to be, like I said, become the evening star. By the end of the month, it will be nice and bright in the evening sky. So, and then it's going to continue to go up and up into June as it moves its way up into Gemini. So, but yeah, May 12th, there's a really cool conjunction, very thin, very low, but a cool conjunction between the moon and Venus coming up too. And lastly, for the planets, we have Mars. Mars is still hanging out. It's just below 45 degrees. It's small right now. You could probably get a nice little view of it, but it's far from ideal, but it is up there. There's not much detail that you can catch. And it's pretty much done and out of the sky in the west by 10 p.m. So Mars it's there. You can point it out to friends and family, but there's not much to see on it. So just a heads up. Now the sun has been kicking up lately as we make our track into maximum. There's been some really cool details visible on there. I don't change this section much because the sun is so variable, but rather I go to this website. This is the Gong H Alpha website. Just type in Gong, Gong H Alpha into Google and it will pop this up. This is several observatories from around the world observing the sun and hydrogen alpha, and they update regularly, like every few minutes. But you can see today there's some nice prominences a little all over the place. There's a nice active region right here. Another one down here. There's like a philoprom, so filament moving into a prom on here. But I usually use this website to see if it's worth dragging out the equipment or opening stuff up to take a look at it. But there's some nice prominences out today, but it has been getting more active because there's been some more active regions on the sun and some nice prominences. Definitely worth keeping an eye on while things get more active, but definitely something to think about. One thing while I'm talking about the sun right now, we do have 2 eclipses visible in the next couple of years, 2023 and 2024. 2024 in April is the total solar eclipse, and 2023 is an annular. It goes through 4 corners region of the U.S., but it will be a pretty deep partial eclipse for pretty much the entire North American continent. So if you're interested in observing those, now would probably be the time to really think about picking up your solar equipment, whether that's a solar filter or a dedicated telescope. I know equipment right now can be a little sparse, but we're going to get to a point probably within the next year and a half. Right there, you saw update. Probably within the next year and a half, where the whole eclipse craze is going to start again. And now we're talking about back-to-back eclipses. So it's going to be like a season of eclipses. So if you've been on the fence about whether you should get some solar telescopes, now would be the time while there's a lull, especially because of equipment it's going to take longer to get right now. But do think about it if you're interested in actually really observing these, because in 2017 things got ridiculous really quickly. So don't wait till the last minute for that. But we'll talk about that, coming up. So, but that's the sun. You want to see what's going on in H alpha? Gong H alpha. Just type that into Google, and it'll keep you up to date with what's going on behind the sun. So, kind of some cool stuff there. Meteor showers. We're actually in the middle of one right now. This is the Eta Aquariids. This actually is a big one. It goes from the April 19th to the 28th. So we've been in it for a little while. It actually peaks this weekend. So if you're going out this weekend, don't be surprised if you catch some. This is really better seen in the southern hemisphere, but we get about 10 to 30 meters an hour here in the northern hemisphere, and the moon phase works out really well too because the skies are dark. But that's kind of a cool one if you're going out to a dark sky site in the next week or two. Don't be surprised if you catch a bunch of meteors coming by. But that is the only meteor shower for the month right now. Comets. We do have a very nice comet up right now. I use this website called Comet Chasing. .skyhound.com. It keeps you up to date with pretty much all the active comets. There's a lot of them. It lists a lot of them that are visible, but some of them are fairly small, likely need a telescope, but there's usually a handful of them that are visible. Right now, C2020 R4 Atlas is the big one. It's hanging out. Let's actually just bring up the Finder chart real quick. This is what's cool about this website is they have a very nicely charted chart on that you can actually use. There we go, finally updated. So right now it is May 7th, and it's going to be cruising right around Coma Berenices. There's a lot of galaxies in this region, so keep an eye out for photo ops. It's going to be moving into Leo by the end of the month, but it's going to go by a ton of different stuff over the next few days. And if you're going to a dark sky site to image, it might be a cool chance to catch a nice view of that. So this is C2020 R4 Atlas is the comet that's best visible right now. Let's see, what's its magnitude? Okay, it's 10.5 magnitude, so it's not naked eye visible. Generally, from a dark sky site, best naked eye visible magnitude would be 7. So it's just beyond that. So probably a pair of binoculars, and I don't think it's that big either. So more of a telescope object. But it is a fantastic imaging target. So this is our friend Scott from Star Arizona shot the other day. This is, you have the Whale Galaxy, the Hockey Stick Galaxy, and there's R4 Atlas right there. So something cool to check out if you're looking to image a neat target right now. That would be it. Let's see, does it have the magnitude on? Oh, it's 10.5 magnitude right now, Joseph in the comments. So it is not naked eye visible. Naked eye visible in a dark sky site would be 7. So this being 10.5, it's several magnitudes fainter than what the human eye can see. So not naked eye, but a good telescopic comet to pick up. So definitely get out there, bust out those one-shot color cameras. That's the best way to shoot a comet and see what you can get out of it, especially because it is going through that Coma Berenices region. There's tons of galaxies in there, so you might just luck out like Scott did here, where he got the 2 galaxies, the Whale Galaxy and the Hockey Stick Galaxy with the comet as it was passing by. So definitely something to check out. I know I will be trying for that this weekend. Now, deep sky targets. Now, if I look a little tired or you see me yawning, is because I was up late last night taking these pictures. Well, not all these pictures, but I was up late last night imaging pictures. So I would actually have something for you guys to show. Oh, you guys want to see the comet website real quick? Let me pull that up real quick. It's pretty easy. Here's the website again, cometchasing.skyhound.com. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and put this in the chat. That sounds like a good idea. Here you guys go. There it is in the chat. So go ahead and check that out whenever you like. But this is the website that I use to figure out if there's any comets that are worth taking a view at. And there's generally one up there, but every now and again one gets bright enough to where it becomes more interesting, like C2020R4 is. So that is the website. If you need anything else, the link is in the chat. Now, deep sky. It's galaxy season, and there's a ton of cool little things to look at. I have a collection of different types of objects right now. I tried to make it a little bit more interesting. I've also been working with a new camera, the ZWO 6200 one-shot color that we have here, and using it for live stacking imaging, where it just takes a bunch of short exposures and it stacks them automatically for outreach and stuff like that. And so all the pictures you're going to see here, for the most part, were done with just really quick exposures, and a bunch of them just stacked real quick and dirty stuff. So, but it gets the point across real quickly. So the Sombrero galaxy is a great galaxy. If you got a telescope for the holidays, like a 6 or 8 inch or 10 inch Dob or something like that, and this is your first spring galaxy season, the Sombrero galaxy, or M104, is a very easy one to see. It's in the southern part of the sky. It's technically in, let me get back to tonight. It's technically in Virgo, but it's not far from the constellation of Corvus the Crow. So it's going to sit out here in the south, right over here. Corvus is like this odd box looking thing. But it actually is going to sit right up here. So there it is right there. Pull back there. So it's pretty easy to find if you find the box of Corvus and these two stars right here. It kind of points you in that direction. What is neat about this is there's two objects in the field, and I should have actually spent more time talking about this. A fun way to figure out where this is when you get into the field, you're going to find M104, but it has a little collection of stars that actually point to it. So you'll find these 4 stars. There's one here and then 3 in a row, and it basically points right to it. But another one, I should have done a slide on this, is there's this triangular structure of 6 stars. There's actually 6. This isn't coming up, but it's a triangle and an inverted triangle of stars. This is called the Stargate star cluster. It's an asterism. It's not an official cluster. But some of the go-to systems out there do have that in there. If not, you can look up the information online and just plug the coordinates in. But there's the Stargate star cluster, which is a cool triangle within a triangle of stars. That triangle, you can find the 3 stars. It points you to the little pointer, and then the pointer points it right to the galaxy. But this is big enough to fit in most eyepieces. So if you can see this in the field of view, the galaxy is in the field of view too. But that's a cool one to see. Right now, it's not too hard, 28 million light years, and it does look like a little sombrero hat. It is a little small, so adding some magnification might not be a bad way to go, but it's a fun one. There's the little pointer star set right there, points right to it. Easy to see in a 6-inch telescope, even from moderately light polluted skies. It's a fun imaging target because you can get it from light polluted skies. This is just a stack of like 30-second exposures. I think there's only like 10 30-second exposures stacked here. But you can see it in a 30-second exposure. It doesn't take much effort at all to see it with a camera. But it can make for an awesome imaging target that you can do from home. It's even more impressive from dark skies. And obviously, if you're doing viewing visually, the bigger the telescope, the more resolution you can get on all of that. But that is M104, the Sombrero Galaxy in the constellation of Virgo. Go ahead and give that a try. It's going to be one of the easiest ones to actually see this time of year. So that's a fun one to go do. Now, last month I talked about this one. I think it's a really cool galaxy, and it doesn't get talked about a lot because of the region that it's in. There's a lot of other galaxies that people go to, but this is NGC 4762, the Kite galaxy, or the Paper Kite galaxy. It's in Virgo as well, up there in that Virgo cluster, about 60 million light years away. You're gonna want to. You could probably do it in a 6-inch telescope. It's gonna be faint. I would go bigger if you can, 10, 12 inch. 12 inch is kind of a sweet spot. A lot of galaxies tend to pop when you have a 12-inch aperture telescope or bigger. It's just you finally have enough light going through there where things get interesting in a dark sky site. So that's kind of why I like 12-inch telescopes, where it's not so big, but it's big enough to where pretty much most galaxies on your star chart are within reach at that point. So 12 inch is a nice size to go with. But this one's got interesting tidal structures because of the way the gravity is working on this. There's star streams that are coming off of this. So a cool one, some cool detail to see. It's visible in astrophotos and long exposures. This was taken from a remote telescope, so not the quick and dirty stuff I've been doing lately, but it's a cool one to image. Very delicate edge-on galaxy in there, so try not to overexpose the center there because there's a lot of cool detail in there, but that's a challenging imaging target because of how thin it is, and try not to overexpose it. But definitely a cool one to check out that doesn't come up too much. A lot of times you get M87 and M81 and M82. You get M51, M101. There's a bunch of really, top shelf galaxies where they're easy to see and they're bright and fun. Those are all great. But this is a cool one if you're looking for something off the beaten path. Let me pull this up real quick. NGC, just to show you guys where it is, NGC 4762. Go back up there. So it's right at the edge of Virgo and Coma Berenices where they kind of meet over there. It should be easy to see because you can get the bright star right off of Virgo there, and it's just above that. So that is the Paper Kite Galaxy NGC 4762. A cool one to go and check out. Here's a little closer shot of it. You can see those tidal streams coming off of the edges of the galaxy there, and that really thin edge-on center core. So a very cool galaxy to try and catch. So highly recommend it. Now, unfortunately, during the springtime, there's not a lot of those colorful nebulas floating out there, but there are a handful. Some of them are, one of the easiest ones is M97, the Owl Nebula up in Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. But one that's off the beaten path is Abell 36. It's in Virgo. It's kind of got these cool tendrils that come off of it. It's a little smaller, but it's bigger than some of the other planetaries. It's only about 780 light years away, so it's pretty close. But a good 10-inch telescope with like an oxygen 3 or a UHC filter from a dark sky site. This would be a fun one to track down if you like nebulas. There's just not a lot of pickings right now for nebulas in this time of year. That's normally reserved for the summer and the winter time. But Abell 36, I'm not sure why this is not coming up. That's incorrect. Okay, there's something wrong with this one. Yeah, it's saying this is a galaxy, and it's not. It's a planetary nebula. So, Stellarium, you're wrong. So, Abell 36, for whatever reason, is not coming up correctly because it's saying a cluster of galaxies, which Abell has a galaxy cluster, but Abell 36 is actually a planetary nebula. That is it right there. So don't look it up in Stellarium. They have it incorrect. Moving. Okay, so I thought I would put this one in here because it's a change up, and I've been using a one-shot color camera. This is La Superba, which is actually why Canum Venaticorum. I butchered that. It's in Canis Venactices. It's a carbon star. Carbon stars are really neat because they're stars that are late in their life. They've burned through a lot of their fuel already, and now they're converting into carbon, which turns them red. And some of them have a very deep red color to them. this particular one is more of that rusty color. But another one, which we'll talk about probably when we get into June, July, called T Lyra, um, is like stop sign red, like deep red. So some of these carbon stars are really neat. But this one is an easy one to see. It's naked eye visible up in Canis Menactices. It's only about 760 light years from Earth. Really, any size optic from binoculars to telescopes can see it. And it is a variable star, so it can change in brightness a bit too. So kind of a neat one to go check out, an easy one to see, and it's a good start if you're interested in maybe starting to observe carbon stars, which I highly recommend. I'm not big on double stars and most stars, but carbons are neat because you can really get that striking color difference between the background stars and the reddish stars that are there. So this is a cool one to go check out. It's visible right now. Like I said, if you just have your first telescope and this is like your first year of owning that telescope, very easy target to find, and you will definitely get that color difference. Let me see if I can pull this one up real quick, as long as our freeware. There we go. And we want to be looking up, not at the ground. We're astronomers, not geologists. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it's almost overhead right now. But there it is right there, La Superba. Not far from the Big Dipper, you could actually take Mizar and go straight down to Chara, and it's about 3/4 of the way to Chara there and Canis Venactices. But easy one to see. It is a carbon star. If you're looking to start observing carbon stars, this is a good one to catch right now because it's so easy to get, where some of those other carbon stars can be a little bit challenging. But it is cool because you get that red color on it. So highly recommend it. Good in any telescope at that point. Now, I jumped too far. No, there we go. M3, globular clusters. Globular clusters are dense balls of stars. There's normally, a couple 100,000 to 1,000,000 stars in these clusters. These types of clusters are generally visible in the summertime because they're usually found along the plane of the Milky Way. And more near the core of the Milky Way. Most globular clusters actually form a halo around the Milky Way core. So in the wintertime, when we're looking away from the core, we don't get a lot of globular clusters. We generally get open clusters. They're usually older as they've separated out a little bit. But open clusters are generally a wintertime object, where globulars are more of a summertime. And M3 is one of the few early risers for the springtime. It's a very easy one to see. You can see it in like a 6-inch telescope, even a 4-inch. But it's a very tight little ball of stars. It's a fun one to image too because there's a lot of blue, some orange stars in here. There's some good color in there. And it doesn't take a lot to do. These were 1-minute pictures, and I think there's only like 5 of them stacked to make this image. Very just, I think there's a couple dark frames and a small stack of short exposures. But it's globular clusters are a fun one to image and try observing, see how far you can resolve down into the core there. Any size telescope will work. Dark skies are very nice on these because you can see some of the fainter extension of the stars as they move away from the core. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, M3 is a fun one to see. 33,920 light years away from the Earth. So it's out there. And globular clusters are a fun one to show your friends and family or outreach events because they're just easy to see. And it's just something that people don't generally think about, but it's a pretty easy one to find. It's not far from Arcturus. You can find the Big Dipper handle. You can arc to Arcturus. So you find the arc in the Big Dipper, arc over to Arcturus, and it's about 3/4 of the way and just drop down a bit towards Coma Berenices. But you can generally see this cluster in like a 50mm finder, even from like a backyard if you're careful. you'll see that the stars look very stellar around it, little pinpoints, where this is going to look more diffuse in the star field when you're looking for it. So don't go too quick if you've never found it before, but M3 is a cool one to check out, and it's a good start to globular clusters. And as we get closer to the summertime and get bigger ones up as well. If you are in a location where you can catch Omega Centauri, it really depends on how clear your southern horizon is. Omega Centauri is the largest globular cluster in the galaxy with a couple million stars. Here in Arizona, we're about 33 degrees latitude. It only rises about 8 to 10 degrees above the horizon. But if you're in like Florida or Hawaii, or if your latitude is like below 35 degrees, or in the southern hemisphere, this is very easy to see. But for most who are in the northern part of the U.S. and Canada, it's just you're too far north to catch it. It just doesn't rise high enough to catch it. Like I said, even here in Arizona, we only have a short shot at it, and it's not in a great portion of the sky because of how low it sits. But only if you're in certain parts of the country can you get Omega Centauri. But if you like globular clusters, there's a bunch of them coming up. We'll talk about them for the next several months. But M3 is a good one to check out. Easy to see in pretty much any type of optic. One of the coolest galaxies that are up right now, and if you're tired of looking at the Messiers and you want something different, NGC 4565, the Needle Galaxy, is in Canis Venaticorum. That distance is wrong, so that's a typo. Sorry about that. You can see this in an 8-inch telescope. It's a cool one for imaging because it doesn't take much effort to get it, but visually in a dark sky site, it's a cool one to see. It's a lot bigger than people think it is. It's a good sized galaxy. Sits about 39 million light years away from the Earth. But what's cool about this galaxy is it has 240 globular clusters in it, which is a ton of clusters. Obviously, we can't see them, but it's a cool fact. If you have a big multi-billion-dollar space telescope like Hubble, then you can see them. But with our little 8-inch telescopes, or even ground-based telescopes, you're not going to see much of it. But this is an awesome galaxy to see. It's really a fan favorite if you're looking to dive off the Messier catalog and into something a little bit more elaborate. This is one of the best NGC galaxies you can see this time of year. It is big, so be prepared. It looks like a UFO coming into the field of view of your telescope. It's really kind of neat to see it. An 8-inch telescope, probably a 6-inch telescope from dark skies. But it's not a bad one to see. If you have a buddy who's got a big telescope, like 16, 20, 24, 28, big, this thing is awesome. There's all kinds of detail inside of that dust lane, all kinds of knots and stuff. So if you ever have a chance to actually look through it through serious aperture, do it. It's definitely worth it. But it looks cool in a bunch of different telescopes, and it's a great dark sky object and imaging. It's actually an easy one to do from the backyard. There is a bunch of other galaxies in the field of view. Again, this one's kind of grainy and noisy because it was just a couple 1-minute pictures stacked, but this is a cool one to go after if you're looking for a bigger galaxy, maybe something a little bit different. Highly recommend hitting this one sometime this spring season. It's definitely worth viewing or imaging or just taking a look at it, so do it. Now, if you're looking for something that's a little bit off the deep end, a little bit more challenging, this is Hickson 61, or the Box. Constellation's Coma Berenices. Now, this is actually composed of 4 NGC galaxies: NGC 4169, 4174, 4173, and 4175. They range obviously right there between 13.3 and 13.3 to 14.5 magnitude. This is probably a 12-inch telescope object. Maybe you could probably do it with a 10. Um, Probably the fainter two are probably going to be pushing the limits um, at a 10-inch telescope. But a 12-inch or bigger, definitely go after it. If you have a chance to get like a 16 or a 20-inch on it, do it. It's a fun, challenging imaging target because you're just getting a collection of different galaxies in there. Here's a breakdown real quick of those. I think this is only like 4 1-minute pictures, so it doesn't take much to get them to show up. This is at 1,000 millimeter focal length. You have 41, 73, 75, 69, and 74, but that is the box, or Hickson 61. It's a fun challenge object, and it's cool to see all 4 of those galaxies there in a box, so kind of a neat one. Now, last target for this month. This is the challenge target. If you are looking to go off the deep end, like beyond anything that we've ever done here as far as distance from Earth, you want to impress your friends, this is 3C273. This is the easiest quasar to see. It's in the constellation of Virgo, about 2.5 billion light years away from the Earth. It is doable in a 10-inch. I've done it in my old 10-inch Dob. It's not that faint. It's like 12.5 magnitude. So it's actually, you could probably do it in an 8-inch if you knew what you were looking for. It looks like a star, but it's an active galaxy. It has a lot to do with black holes. If you want to do something about quasars, or go look up quasars if you're not sure what they are. But they are a very challenging set of objects. I like to call them concept objects because it's more about the distance and what they are. They're not visually spectacular. There's not details to really see on these. They just look like a stellar point. But it's a cool one to actually see as far as distance. And real quick, I just want to show you how to star hop to this because it's actually pretty easy. The first thing you're going to want to find when you're in the field of view, you're going to find a little arcing of stars. These 4 stars right there, that's the arc. Now you're going to follow that arcing of stars downward to this little box. There's 4 stars that this little arc points down to, and these are the 4 stars I'm talking about right there. They make this little diamond, and when you find this diamond, the brightest star is going to be on the lower point here, and the brighter star actually matches up with the brighter star of this little triangle. That's what we're looking for. But find the arc, find the diamond, and then take the 2 center stars of the diamond, and it points right to the quasar. I should have wrote this out a little bit differently, but here's the triangle we're looking for next to the diamond. So find the arc, then the diamond, then the little triangle, and then these 2 right here points you right to 3C273, the easiest quasar to see in the nighttime sky. So there you go, as your challenge target for the month. So if you enjoyed all that, go ahead and subscribe. We're happy to have you here. If you have any questions, we'll go through that right now. If you have anything you want us to cover or I don't get a chance to talk to you about, go ahead and email us at support@skywatcherusa.com and title it What's Up, and we'll go over that. Next week, we're going over the Star Adventurer 2I. This is the evolution of the Star Adventurer. We're going to take a look at that one. I know people have questions about it all the time. There's some tips and tricks I want to talk about on that one, too, to get it to work. It works just as the original one does, but there's some tricks with the app that we're going to talk about that should be helpful for people. So that's next week. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them out there. I'll be happy to answer them. I know there's a couple comments. First one's from Chris. I'd like to hear a segment on Starlink and what it means for the future of amateur astronomy. That one would be interesting. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But that's interesting, though, because I've seen pictures of those interrupting. I haven't had a chance to see them personally, but I want to try to catch them. Next one comes from Joseph. Kevin and viewers, do you own or is there anyone in your circle of astronomy contacts who owns one of the EV scopes or Unistellar? I I don't know anybody who has one, actually. I've seen reviews of them on YouTube, as I'm sure you have. Um, I want to try one. They look really interesting. They're definitely products that I've seen people comment about these EV scopes and the Unistellars. Um, that, oh yeah, they're not gonna be here for long, and it's a gimmick and blah blah blah. Well, these particular telescopes, from my opinion, are not targeted at the advanced amateur. Most of us have our own equipment. Um, they're really targeted at getting new people interested into the world of astronomy, and it makes astrophotography a little easier to start with. Um, but they look interesting. I would like to try one. They are small, but they're not really designed to be big and cumbersome. They're designed to be easy. Take them out and start looking at or photographing uh, cool things in the nighttime sky. So um, it's an interesting tool, but if you're an experienced amateur astronomer, I don't know that it's going to be your go-to product, but it's a good springboard for people. But they are a little expensive. But that's like any new technology. It's like Tesla. When Tesla came out with their S series, um, they were cheaper, but they're still 90, 80, 90, $100,000 cars. But now they have the Model 3 out. It's cheaper. It's getting cheaper. So I wouldn't be surprised if that technology got cheaper and more affordable as things move forward. But that's kind of my opinion on the. They look interesting. I think they'd be fun to use. But if you're an advanced amateur and you've already got nice equipment, it's probably not geared for you necessarily. But we'll see where it goes. Good luck to them. We need anything that gets people into astronomy is really what it's all about. So awesome. I don't see any more questions there. So if that's it, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Good luck. Hopefully you can try some of these objects if you're going out this weekend. Definitely try to challenge yourself. Go off the deep end a little bit and see what you can find in your telescope, whether you're doing that visually or imaging. There's tons of stuff to explore out there. So hopefully you've got some clear skies this weekend. Even if you're at home, you can still capture some of these really faint, unique little targets. So go for it. But if that's it, I don't see any questions. Have a great weekend, clear skies, and stay safe. And we will catch you guys next week. Real quick, I should have put a slide in here. We are going to have Brother Guy. He's the head of the Vatican Observatory. He's going to be on at the end of June, but we have to pre-record that episode. It will not be live because time difference. He'll be in Italy. I will be out of town that week actually as well. So, but if you have any questions, email those in as soon as you can because we're going to be talking to him soon. So, thanks a lot, everyone. See you later. Take care. Bye.